Welcome to Athar's Garage. In this video, I'll be unboxing the team associated T6.4 stadium truck. I'm super excited because this is the first stadium truck that I've owned. Also, I'm a big fan of the 13mm shocks and I just had to have one. So pretty excited about this unboxing. Let's take a look at the box before we open it. It is sealed. It's got two seals on the side here and another one on the bottom. A lot of information on the box itself. So you kind of look at the images here. It kind of talks about what's new for the truck. The truck went from the T6.2 to the T6.4. Associated stadium trucks and short course trucks always kind of lag behind the buggy in terms of the number, design, and things like that, because these aren't the most popular classes. But now the T6.4 has the new 13mm shocks. These shock bodies are actually larger than the buggy, so these are different than what you get on the buggy, the two-wheel drive and the four-wheel drive. So they updated the chassis to have a 22.5 kickup angle compared to the previous one. I think it was 25-degree kickup angle. With the new chassis and kickup angle, you've got the new bulkheads. I'd recommend using the aluminum ones. So with the new kickup angle and the geometry changes that they made to the steering, we have a new adjustable height belt crank. So there's some bushings that you put in and you can adjust the height of the belt cranks themselves. I think this is going to be a weak spot on the car. The belt crank has a cutout for the ball stud and the rod end, and I think that makes it very weak. So if you look at my video that I just posted not too long ago about that upgrade on the B6.4, that upgrade will work on this car as well. Along with the same steering geometry changes they did on the 6.4, you have the -1 kingpin offset steering and caster block for basically more predictable steering, and it kind of keeps the wheel flatter throughout the turn, if I'm not mistaken. These are the same changes on the B6.4. They basically made the chassis a little wider, and you're able to move the ESC tray up a little bit more forward to get that forward weight bias that we like on these cars. So that's pretty new. Looks like they went with a wide C&D block with the 92.5mm CVA drive shafts. Along with that, same as the B6.4, they have some different chassis mounted fan options. So the new side rails accommodate that. Looks like they went with the 3.5mm ball cups and turnbuckles like they did on the B74.2. So I'm pretty excited about that, since the wheels on this car are pretty big. The wheels and tires are pretty big, and if you do take a hit, I remember that on the T6.2, the turnbuckles would pop off pretty easily. I haven't had a turnbuckle pop off on my B74.2, so pretty excited to see how these will perform. Got gull wing arms front and rear, so there we go. So basically everything I talked about feature wise, they have them right here as well. So let's get this thing open and see what we have in the box. So we're hoping to build this class at our local club. Initially, when we had the stadium truck class, it was kind of an open class, and people put different size motors and things like that. And now we're gonna try to spec it out So we have a spec 17.5 turn motor, spec tires. We don't know about gearing yet, but I think it'll be a good class for beginners or someone who wants to have a second class that they don't want to spend $1,000 on a four-wheel drive build. All right, so got this box open, and the first thing I noticed is that there is no body. So I was afraid of this. I know that in the manual that was published before the car was actually at the shop was that there is no body. There are no wheels or tires in here. So kind of disappointed that you spend $390 and you don't get a body. You know, with the buggy priced at $400 and you do get a body, you know, I don't think this is that great of a value. The other thing is that I'm going to be running this on carpet, and according to the manual, this comes with a ball diff. So you're going to have to go out and get a gear diff to run on carpet if you decide to run it on carpet. So that being said, I believe the gear diff is, you know, maybe another $40 or $30, and a body is going to be another $30 to $35. So kind of disappointed and associated that they didn't include the body at least. But let's go ahead and take everything out and see what we have in the box. So first things first, let's get the chassis out. Let's take a look at that. Looks very similar to the buggy chassis in terms of width. Maybe the length is a little different, but nicely anodized and nicely machined. Pretty excited to put this thing together. All right, let's try to get the bags out in order so we can see them and lay them out, make sure we have everything. All right, here's bag one. So bag one has our bearings. Looks like we have our new front ball stud mount, which is going to be the same as the B6.4. The steering piece is here, along with all the hardware and ball studs that we need. So there's bag one. Bag two is a big bag. So bag two, we've got our side rails, we've got our front sway bar. If I'm not mistaken, the kit does not come with the rear sway bar or the rear sway bar hardware. If you want to get that, that's going to be probably an additional $20 to get the hardware that you need and the rear bars itself. So in bag two, I see, looks like the front control arms. We've got the side rails. We've got the bulkhead in here. I've got the front shock tower. And looks like we've got the mounts for our servo as well in here. There's bag two. All right, bag three looks like our C-hub and steering blocks, along with our inserts and front axles that we need. Looks like we've got some outer hinge pins in here as well. Bag four, we got the rear control arms, along with our C&D block, hinge pins, rear bumper. Bag five is our ball diff. See, so I'm gonna be running on carpet, so this is pretty useless for me. I might just keep it in here like this, and see if someone local might want this for, you know, if they run on dirt. I don't plan to run on dirt. There's no 1/10 scale dirt tracks near me, so unfortunately this is useless. I wish they made a dirt version and a carpet version, so that way, you know, you don't end up with you know, a useless part bag like this. So that's bag five. Bag six, we've got our transmission, lay down transmission. our braces, we got our rear shock tower, our diff inserts to change the height. We've got our top shaft and slipper motor plate here. We got our rear ball stud mount. Looks like we've got some rod ends. Let's see. That's pretty much it for that. So that's bag 6. Bag 7. We have our rear hubs, our axles that we have to assemble. There you go, that's bag 7. Bag 8 is a turnbuckle bag. So we've got the new 3.5mm turnbuckles. So these should hopefully be stronger and hold on to the ball studs a lot better. Bag 9 are shocks. I am so excited to put these together because I've been a fan of the 13mm shocks since they came out. I think they make the cars so easy to drive. They're forgiving. You can push them. I mean, I'm excited to put this together and put this on the track and see how it drives. That's bag 9. Bag 10, which looks like the final build bag, is the battery brace. Comes with our wheel nuts along with our fan mount. So depending on which fan mount option we go with, they're all going to be on this parts tree that's right here. Bag 11 is just the fluid, and since there's no diff in here, they only have shock fluid in here, which is 30 weight if I'm not mistaken. Trying to get this rotated so we can see, but yes, it is 30 weight. And you're going to put that both in the front and the rear shocks, and this bottle is a little bit larger than what you typically get in a kit, since they will be doing both the front and the rear shocks. And the last thing in the box is the manual bag, along with we have our Velcro and our double-sided tape for the ESC, and an antenna tube if you still use antenna receivers. So let's open this up and take a look at the manual. So we talked about the Velcro, antenna tube, and double-sided tape. We also have a sticker sheet. I think you got to cut these stickers out. They're not pre-cut. Also have a little associated brochure to show and highlight their other cars that you might be interested in. Now we have our manual. So I'm a fan of the associated manual because it's not terrible. All right, page 3, you have all the screw lengths 1-to-1 size, so you can reference them, measure, make sure you have the correct ones. But so far it looks very similar to the B6.4 manual in steps and parts. So we're going to start off with building the steering in bag 1. Bag 2, we're going to attach basically the steering and front ball stud mount onto the chassis in bag 2. Along with, we're going to put side rails, sway bar, servo, top plate. So I remember the servo link and the top plate did have some interference on the B6.4, so I'm going to keep an eye out to make sure if that's going to happen on this one. It probably will, since the geometry is supposedly the same. so we might have to take some material off the top plate. So continuing bag 2, we end up putting on the front shock tower. Bag 3, we got our front steering blocks and C-hubs, or caster blocks as they call them. We'll end up putting the front arms, or the bag 4 we'll end up putting on the C block and D block with the arms. Bag 5, the diff. Unfortunately, we won't be putting that together because it's a ball diff. And you can see here, the optional rear anti-roll bar. None of this is included. So you're gonna end up having to buy the collars. May not even come with the M3x10 set screws and steering links. I think this all comes in a kit that you can buy, but then you're gonna have to buy the anti-roll bars themselves. Bag 6, we got the transmission build, which I'm super excited about that because I love putting the transmission together and seeing how smooth they run. 6, we end up putting the slipper in there, and then we end up installing all of that onto the chassis. Bag 7 is going to be the rear hubs and axles. And then bag 8, it's kind of weird that they start bag 8 in the middle of a page like that, but that's going to be the ball cups. The first impression of the 3.5mm ball cups that I had, they were inconsistent on the B74.2 build that I did for myself. However, I did do a recent build for a friend, and his ball cups had really good tolerancing, and none of them were binding. So hopefully we get that with this build as well. Bag 9 going to be the shocks. Let's take a quick look here. Look at running 2x1.6 piston in the front and 2x1.8 piston in the rear. 30 weight shock oil front to back. I don't think there are any spacers that we're gonna put inside or outside, or limiters I mean. Shock eyelets, we're gonna use the +2s front and rear. So that's kind of interesting to note. And let's see, we're going to be using the 5mm offset spring perches, front and rear. So, yep, looks pretty similar to the other builds for the B6.4. M3 screw attaches at the bottom. You have a stud in the back at the lower portion of the shock. All right, so one thing I do like about this manual that I don't think the B6.4 had in its manual, but the B6.3 did have in its manual, were this section right here. Is kind of tells you a little bit about what the diff height adjustment does, gearbox type, slipper clutch, caster, front camber, rear camber, kind of some tuning options and what those do. But yeah, so overall, very nice manual. Paper quality is pretty nice. So pretty excited to put this together. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you enjoy the unboxing. Please stay tuned for the next video, which will be the actual build. I'm going to start off with bag 1. I'm going to try to get the videos out as quickly as possible, so that way y'all can put your kits together, because I know the car just came out. So In my opinion, it should be a pretty simple build. Shouldn't be very difficult. It shouldn't be, there are some quirks to the B6.4, which I think the T6.4 will have. So I'll keep that in mind. I'll take a look at my notes that I had for the B6.4, and I'll make sure that I don't overlook, if this car has a similar issue. So stay tuned for the next video, which will be the actual build video of bag 1. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.